Have you ever felt like you're just drowning in information? Names, dates, big ideas, all coming at you at once? It can be overwhelming. Well, today, we're going to tackle that feeling head on. We're going to dive into the huge world of history to uncover a really powerful method for mastering any complex subject. Let's crack this code together. Okay, so picture this. You're in an exam, the clock's ticking, and you get hit with this question. 3 places, 3 descriptions. And they all sound kind of plausible, right? Which ones are actually correct? The pressure is on to pull these very specific, disconnected facts out of your brain. This is that classic moment, a total memory test. All right, now what about this? A whole list of rulers from the Mughal dynasty, each with their specific years on the throne. To make any sense of this, you don't just have to know the names, you have to know the order and the dates. It's another flood of information, but this time it's all about chronology. How do you possibly keep it all straight? And then you get this, a super detailed description of architecture. All of a sudden, we're dealing with jargon like intersecting arches and specific influences like Khorasan. It's dense, it's academic, and it's loaded with all these specialized details. So you've got matching pairs, timelines, super technical stuff. It is a lot. How in the world do you hold all of this in your head and not just memorize it, but actually, understand it? Well, guess what? There is a method. There's a system that people use to master this exact level of complexity, often under the most intense pressure you can imagine. We're talking about India's civil service exam, the UPSC. It is famously one of the toughest competitive exams on the planet. I mean, the sheer volume of historical, cultural, and political information these candidates have to master is just staggering. To succeed here, you need way more than just a good memory. And here's the secret, the real game changer. The top performers don't just have better memories, they have better systems. They're not trying to memorize an entire library. They have a kind of mental filing cabinet to organize all that information. It makes everything logical, accessible, and way easier to remember. This quote from an expert coach for the exam, well, it says it all, doesn't it? You don't win by writing some long, beautiful essay. You win with clarity, with structure. You break down the question into its most important parts. It's all about being direct and super organized. So what does this system actually look like when you use it? It's really a simple but powerful toolkit that absolutely anyone can use to bring some clarity to confusing information. Okay, let's dive into the method itself. It really boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you pause. Before you do anything, just stop and figure out what the core question or theme really is. Second, you structure. This is the magic part, where you break the topic down into logical pieces. And third, you just jot down the key points for each of those pieces. That's it. Pause, structure, summarize. It's that straightforward. Now, that word structuring, it sounds a little academic, right? But it's really just a set of mental tools you can use. You can look at a topic through different lenses, like what were the social, economic, or political angles. You could map out the cause and effect, put events on a timeline, compare 2 different ideas, or just clearly define a key term. These are the tools in your new toolkit. All right, enough theory. Let's put this toolkit into action and see how it completely transforms a dense chunk of historical text into something you can actually get your head around. Okay, so here's a pretty typical paragraph from a history book about the Delhi Sultanate. It's just packed with facts. Distant provinces, rebellion, bad weather, Mongol invasions, all of it. It's all there, but it's just kind of a jumbled mess of a story. And boom, look at this. When we apply our toolkit, that mass becomes crystal clear. We just structure it into 2 parts. The challenges the Sultanate was up against, like those invasions, and then their strategy to deal with those challenges, like securing their frontiers. It's the exact same information, but now it's organized, it's digestible, and it actually tells a logical story. Okay, so that works great for one specific problem. But what about the big picture? Those huge, complex historical movements that happen over decades. Can we use these tools for that? Oh, absolutely. Let's take the timeline tool for a spin with the rise of nationalism in Europe. Instead of a random list of events, arranging them in order tells a story. See how it starts as a spark in Greece in 1821. Then it just explodes across Europe in 1848. That leads directly to the creation of Italy and Germany, and the idea keeps spreading. The timeline turns random dates into a clear story of cause and effect. Or how about this one? Let's use the compare and contrast tool. Nagara and Dravida are two major styles of Indian temple architecture. Trying to remember all their different features from a paragraph is tough, but put them side by side like this, the differences just pop. You can instantly see the Nagara style in the north is built on a platform, while the Dravida style in the south is different. This simple structure makes all those little details so much easier to remember. And you know what's really cool? This whole structuring thing isn't just for concrete stuff like events and buildings. It works just as well for abstract ideas, the philosophical or religious concepts that can feel the most difficult to pin down. Let's take the Buddhist idea of a bodhisattva, for example. By using the Define Key Concepts tool, we can boil this big, complex spiritual idea down into three essential parts. 1, it's a compassionate being on the path to enlightenment. 2, it's a key idea in Mahayana Buddhism. And 3, and this is crucial, this being delays their own salvation to help everyone else. Just like that, a fuzzy, abstract idea becomes simple, clear, and really powerful. So what's the big takeaway here? Why does any of this matter? Because this skill, this ability to think like a historian or an analyst, is a genuine superpower in our crazy, information-soaked world. Seriously, being able to look at a complicated news story, pause, and mentally structure it into its key parts, its causes, its effects, that is an essential skill for thinking critically. This toolkit helps you cut right through the noise and understand what's really going on, and that goes way beyond any classroom. When we learn how to structure the past, we start to see the incredibly complex forces that have shaped our world today. As the former Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi once said, the very survival of a nation through decades of challenges is a huge achievement, one built on a long history of tough decisions, conflicts, and coming together. So in the end, mastering history, or really any complex subject, isn't about memorizing answers. It's about learning how to ask the right questions and how to structure information to find the answers for yourself. So the next time you face a wall of text, don't just read it, structure it, and ask yourself, what patterns from the past are shaping my world right now?